I don't know how many of you know that Canada is a member of the Commonwealth. Its Governor General is Mary Simon, the first native Canadian to get that post. As any other Commonwealth nation, this is a very titular post, and it is a usual parliamentary democracy, just like the other countries, such as the United Kingdom. So little surprise that the grooming gangs phenomenon has spread to Canada also, perhaps in worse ways in some. Because what we are seeing is, remember I had told you that there are about 400,000 students of Indian origin studying in Canada? Well, I have some terrible news. Some of the girl students who are enrolled as students are being trafficked now. They're being pushed into prostitution and worse. This is really a gut-wrenching story. I want to tell you upfront that the same set of actors are here as well as in the United Kingdom. What is Canada doing about it? Well, we are going to ask you a lot of tough questions. That is the Canadian government. I hope the new Prime Minister, in the little time he or she has, will set at least some things right. Here we go. Canada's grooming gangs. Similar pattern of grooming gangs is found in Canada like in the United Kingdom. Now, one of the most affected communities is the Sikh community in Canada, and they have voiced their concerns about the grooming gangs. Remember, I don't know how many of you have seen Russell Peters' comedy. He grew up in Toronto, the backdrop that I'm using today, and he coined that line, somebody is gonna get hurt real bad. So all this points to, people of all shades being in this country. And now I also told you in a separate podcast that 1 in 3 Canadian today is not Canada born. I'm talking about living there. I'm not saying citizens, but you get the idea that there are a lot of non-Canada born people living in Canada. Little wonder that some of these things have come over from UK or from wherever they live. Pakistan comes to mind. Certainly, this country is godforsaken. It's I don't know what to say. I mean, all they have is their pride, and that's going to go soon too. So reports are suggesting Pakistan origin groups are allegedly facilitating some of these cartels, which is essentially doing drug trafficking as well as human trafficking. I mean, I'm not even going to mention about the Khalistani connection here. It's very likely that there is some connect, some crossover there also, which is really sad because some of the girls affected are from the Sikh community. Yeah, as you can see here, I've got a smorgasbord of many articles emanating from Canada. You may want to watch this video on a television to be able to read some of the headlines. It's truly gut-wrenching. Human trafficking surge. Reports of human trafficking have increased by 400% since the Trudeau's government took office. And I'm going to give you the stats in just a minute. In 2020, Canadian women organizations revealed that funding for anti-trafficking purposes had lapsed under Trudeau's administration. You can see the headlines there. Trudeau government pulls funding for human trafficking victims. Several services closed due to lacking funding, leaving victims without essential support. So these are kids, women, girls who have suffered emotional and physical trauma. Then you take away funding. What happens? They go right back to where they came from, prostitution or drugs or worse. This is one of the biggest problems plaguing Canada, and I want the United States to be cognizant of what they are getting into should they decide to annex or make Canada a part of this great country of United States. I would like to say that it is not looking that great, especially the way United States has handled the emergency in South Carolina, and as well as what is playing out now in LA, where big cities and very exclusive rich cities are now getting burnt down. Pacific Palisades, Bel Air, I'm told. Hollywood is next. My God, this is terrible. So far, over 4,500 human trafficking cases were reported in the period 2013 to 2023, with a major spike happening in 2018 to 2019. You can see the graphs here. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Many of these things go unreported. As you can see here, the number goes up from 115 in 2013 to 570 in 2023. It needs to be remembered that Trudeau assumed office on November 4th, 2015. Now, Brampton, this is the city which had all these problems wherein the Hindu temples were attacked because they were allowing the consulate officials to give proof of life certificates. Remember that? The same mayor, Brampton mayor, Patrick Brown, had revealed the systematic exploitation of international students, particularly women in Canada. Victims were lured with fake job offers leading to coerced exploitation. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, identified over 500 Asian women, including minors, forced into exploitation across the country. International students remain a vulnerable group in this exploitation scheme. Viewers, those of you who think that, getting your child an education abroad, please do your homework. I've been saying this thing again and again. Hold off, do your homework, be absolutely sure. Make sure that there is a family very close by where your child is studying, so that the child can at least go there for the weekends, or within touching distance, if you will. This is very, very important. Now, what are the revelations by Brampton mayor? International students are being sexually exploited, trafficked, says Brampton mayor. This is the story. And you can go to the link and take a look at it. I have a bunch of links to share with you. In 2021, 10 men were arrested in Alberta for exploiting a 15-year-old, with authorities linking the case to a broader pattern across provinces. Suspected child grooming gang arrested in Alberta for alleged sexual exploitation. And now there is also a huge allegation, and some say that this is the real reason why Trudeau stepped down, that he had sex with a minor, and that case is now coming in front of a court, or that case is about to be decided upon. This is a story that's doing rounds on the social media. I would need some of my brothers and sisters from Canada to kind of tell me if it's true or not, because in social media sometimes deliberate lies are also planted. So I don't want to assume that this is happening, but if that is happening, please let us know. Trudeau has faced criticism regarding his stance on sexual misconduct and cultural bias. In 2000, Trudeau was accused of inappropriate behavior at a festival, raising questions about his sensitivity to such issues. I would not be surprised if Canada gets a woman prime minister next. While not directly linked to grooming gangs, the incident has been cited to challenge his awareness and response to matters of sexual misconduct. Here you go. This is the story. And again, if you use a television monitor, you'll be able to clearly see the date and time of the article. Tommy Robinson, arrest and advocacy. Tommy visited Canada, I think, a few years ago, and he was arrested a couple of times. And they said that he was there without a valid visa. Well, that was one of the reasons given. But what he was there was to highlight the presence and operations of grooming gangs in Canada during the same period. I mean, this is basically people hopping over from UK to Canada and starting to do the same thing that they did there. Tommy Robinson's arrest and advocacy. If you go to Tommy Robinson's page in X, you can see all these videos and these posts and these pictures of all the people who are accused of being parts of grooming gangs. Trudeau's government has faced criticism for a perceived lack of action on grooming gang issues. Same reason that if you do that thing, it will, break the multicultural harmony. I remember 𝗤𝗙𝗍𝗫 telling about how anytime he lodged a complaint with the police, the same ISI-linked policeman who was working in the Canadian police would show up and give the same report, that much of it is 𝗤𝗙𝗍𝗫's figment of imagination. So these kinds of things are normal. So, and we also saw this one, well, I wouldn't say anything, Sikh Canadian policeman who was mishandling and manhandling people in the protests, and then the guy was suspended only to be put back on the force just a few days later. One other person was actually found protesting with the Khalistanis. Somewhere somebody's screws have gone loose. That's all I can say. The parallels between UK and Canada are troubling. They include delayed responses to reports, inadequate resource allocation, systemic failures in victim protection, and political reluctance to address the root causes. I'm saying all these things now because The thought that Canada should be part of the United States is gaining steam. But please understand, Trump and his team, understand what you are getting. The grooming gangs are not an issue in United States. Fortunately, the United States police law and order is a little bit better than the Canadian version, although I would say that what is happening in California leaves a lot to be desired. Now, there have been many calls for justice and accountability, and the survivors have been screaming from any forum that they can get their hands on. The government must prioritize protecting vulnerable people immediately. Critics highlight the use of generic terms like South Asian, when in fact, these gangs made up of Pakistanis. There is no way you can hide this thing. No Nepali has been found guilty of it. No Indian has been found guilty of it. Although I might say that some of these lumpens who call themselves as Khalistanis, they may be part of it. But by and large, this is a Pakistan-born men operation. The issues in the UK and Canada demonstrate a deeper systemic rot and demands immediate accountability. You are seeing how the UK Parliament voted down an investigation against the grooming gangs. These guys, I don't know what kind of weed they are smoking. You do votes matter that much? Don't your own daughters matter? Keir Starmer? Where are you? What kind of a human being are you? Failure to address these crimes has often allowed perpetrators to escape justice, perpetuating harm. And every delayed inquiry leaves a survivor waiting for justice, and every funding cut eliminates a vital support service, potentially putting lives at risk. That's all I have to say. This is truly a heart-rending story. And when I start talking about these things, I'm saying, here is this country here, Canada. And by the way, they have a lot of problems to solve themselves before I think some other country will touch them. This is my personal opinion. I could always be surprised by Trump saying that it is more important that, Trump has a lot of confidence in his ability to make things right, but he can only take so many things on. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.